Well, hey there, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of Learn BMX Racing. So this episode is going to be a review of one of my favorite BMX tracks. This is Hesperia BMX in Hesperia, California. And for those of you old school riders out there, you might remember this track from the 1980s when it first opened, and it was called Live Oak Park BMX. So like all of my review videos, let's start out with showing you a map of exactly how to get here. All right, so let's take a look at Hesperia in Southern California. So if we zoom in here on the map, we can see that Hesperia is located just to the northeast of Los Angeles. It is east of Palmdale, and it's pretty much north of San Bernardino. And if we zoom in a little bit closer, you can see that Hesperia is pretty much right in the middle of the city. It's not really close to any major highways or anything. We have the 15 right here. So if you're coming from the north or the south, you're going to be on the 15 at some point. And from there, you're probably going to want to take something like Main Street all the way down to I Avenue. Right, and then go north on I Avenue. And if you're coming from the north, you might want to take Bear Valley. Right, you can get off here at Bear Valley Road, and then you can come down south on I Avenue. All right, so let's take a look at the satellite view. So once you're coming down I Avenue, you basically have two choices of how to get to Hesperia and where you're going to park. So you can either park down here. You see where it says Cajun Street, okay? People will park right along this fence, so that's one option. And the other option is to come in here into Live Oak Park and park in this asphalt parking lot. If you come into this parking lot, you'd walk around this way and come in this way to get to the track. Sometimes this fence right here is open, you can come in that way. And if you park down here on Cajun Street, then you can walk right through that fence right there. And that's how you get to Hesperia. So let's look at the street view on Cajun Street, and you'll get a better idea of what it looks like in person. So you can see right there is the animal hospital, and then right here is the track. So this is the part that I was talking about where you park along the fence. And then you can see there in the distance, you can actually see the start hill right back here, and you can see the sign-up booth right there. So that is basically how you get to Hesperia if you want to park in the dirt. And then if you want to park in the asphalt, you come up this street, which is Live Oak Street, and take a closer look at that right here. So you can see what that parking lot looks like, and you'll know what to look out for when you come in there. So it's like this. You've got the sign that says Live Oak Park, and you have the two entrances, and you can just pull in here, park there, and you can be at the track. Here is what it looks like from the dirt road where you can park just outside the track. And then you can see right here, there's the opening in the gate that actually leads into the track facility. Now, once you enter into the gate, if you look to your immediate right, that is the balance bike strider track. If you look straight ahead, you can see the announcer's tower and the start hill. And then over towards the left, which would pretty much be straight ahead once you walk through the gates, that is the sign-up booth. And we have the bike racks right there in front of the sign-up booth as well. There is a snack bar over to the right-hand side of the sign-up booth that's usually opened just during the summers. And right here we have the general rules of the track. So if you're coming for the first time, if you're a parent, and you just want to sort of observe the racing, there are really three spots as you come over away from the sign-up booth that you can watch the races. So the first spot is sort of to the west of the observation tower, right in this area. It is just south of the start hill. The other is bleachers and benches that are to the north of the very first straight, and you get there by walking around the back side of the start hill. The third area is this kind of white observation deck over by the Strider track, and I'll show you all that in more detail later. Here is the start hill, and if you go to the left of the start hill, or the northern side of the start hill, and walk around that way, that leads to the bleachers and benches. Now, if you want to get to the observation area that's below the starting gate, you'd walk along this fence right here where you see all the banners, and you walk to the western side of the announcer's tower right here. And as you can see, you get a really nice view of the starting gate. There's a whole bunch of benches that are around here, and this is where a majority of parents and siblings and friends will gather to watch races. And here's another angle of the same area. You can see that it's just a really good spot because it gives you a really clear view of the starting gate, of the starting hill, and a good portion of the very first straight as well. So it's a very popular spot for people to watch races from. Now, if you want to see what it looks like from the other side, from the bleachers and the benches, this is the northern side of the first straight. And again, a great spot where you can really clearly see everything that's going on. And right there we have the bleachers. Here's one of the benches, and then there's another bench that's right next to it. And if you keep on walking straight, like past those trees between these two fences, that's how you get back around the other side of the start hill. And then right there across the way, you can see the area below the announcer's tower where most of the people are usually watching the races. So two really good spots to check things out. Now, right here, we can see the final straight and the finish line of the main track. And south of that, right here, is the Strider track. And right there is the white observation deck that you can stand on if you're watching Strider races. Again, a really good angle. As you can see from this shot, this was actually taken from that Strider area. And we can see Dan watering the track operator. And speaking of the track operators, let's talk about him. Every time I do a review of a track, I also like to introduce the track operators. And the track operators here at Hesperia BMX are the Dalton family. April and Dan Dalton are definitely two of the most dedicated people when it comes to running a BMX track. And I'll tell you a story of why. So a lot of tracks in Southern California, they will cancel their typical race nights if there's a big event happening over a weekend. For example, if there's a big race happening in Vegas, right, and you normally have a Friday night or a Monday night that you're open, a lot of those tracks will shut down. That's very understandable because a lot of the track operators have kids who race. So they might be traveling to Vegas on Friday, they'll be coming home on Monday, so the track is closed. Last year, there was a big race in Vegas, and Hesperia was open on their typical Monday night. And I asked April, I said, I'm really surprised that you guys are open tonight because I figured you went to Vegas. And she said, oh, she goes, we did. We didn't even go home yet. And I said, wait, what? Yeah, they didn't go home. They actually drove from Vegas to the track so they could open up the track on Monday night and then went home after that. That is the kind of dedication that you'll see from the Dalton family, which really is unparalleled.
Hey everyone, my name is Dan Dalton. I'm actually the track operator here at Hesperia BMX, which is also known as Live Oak Park back in the 80s, where I started back in 82, 83. 13 years old, quite a long time ago. So I've been in the industry for pushing 30 years, and it's sort of cool to give back to the community. And I got 3 kids that race now, so bringing them around to this and having all the kids grow up around this is awesome. And I just hope all the families come out and actually see what BMX racing is about and having a lot of fun out here. Come on out and enjoy.
Hi, I'm Caden Dalton.
Hi, I'm Ryder Dalton.
And my dad, Dan Dalton, runs Hesperia BMX. And what we mostly like about this track is practicing, to get warmed up and stuff for the races.
And we also like racing because then we can get faster, which makes us beat people, so then we can get very big trophies.
Hi, my name is Liberty Dalton, and my parents are the track operators of Hesperia BMX. And what I love about BMX is having fun at races and always get to meet new friends all over the U.S.
This is April. She hates being on camera, so we had to compromise. We took a look at how to get to the sign-up booth from the dirt parking area. So let's show you how to get there from the asphalt parking lot if you park in the Live Oak Park lot. So sometimes this gate right here is open and you can come through this way, and to your immediate right is the sign-up booth. Now, other times you can also come through this gate right here, and this, if you pay close attention, is also where the restrooms are at. So right there is little boy's room, and if we come up here, there's little girl's room. And here you can see the park and the swing sets and all that sort of thing to the left. And yeah, this is the way that you get into the track if you're coming from the asphalt parking lot. So if we want to come back around the other way, the other side of the building, of course this would be the eastern side of the sign-up building, and then we come through this gate right here, and we'll get to what you really want to see, the whole reason that you're actually watching a video like this. Let's take our first lap around the track. So we'll come up the starting hill here and get into the gate and take a full lap around Hesperia BMX. So I'll squeeze through here. I come into gate 6, I believe, and nice start hill. You know, it's not too big, not too small. I like the gate. The gate is at a pretty good angle. Some gates, they're weird. It's like they're steeper than others, and this one it feels good. You know, you have a nice kind of solid stance on it, and the start hill isn't, too crazy steep or anything like that. But it's it's not a really tiny one either. So it's really good. This is a great beginner's track. It's one of the best beginner's tracks out there that I'm aware of. So you come down the first straight, there's a little step up, then there's another kind of like double step up into the first turn, and then you hit this kind of little tabletop double, and then there's a triple right there. Here's another double, come into the second turn, and that throws you into the rhythm section, one of the better rhythm sections that I've ever ridden. And as you come out of this into the third turn, now we have a little double there. That one's a true tabletop, and another double that's kind of a tabletop, and cross the finish line. So there you go. There is a full lap around Hesperia BMX. And we'll go into more detail about parts of the track in a bit.
Okay, riders, random start. Riders ready, watch the gate.
Here is a lap that I did with one of the local riders, Norman. So Norman has the camera, and you can see me right there behind him. And this was actually the first time that we ever kind of experimented with this switching back and forth in the turns and overtaking one another just to see what kind of shots that I could get with the camera. So it turned out pretty decent. It was kind of fun, and I think I will definitely work on this more, try to improve it a bit. As you can tell, the camera was a little bit too low, so we were getting too much of his helmet. But, you know, it turned out pretty decently for a first try around the track. Here we have a shot of the announcer's tower, which is right next to the starting gate on the start hill. And we'll just let the natural audio roll here on a windy, blustery day so you can get an idea of the vibe at the track on a practice afternoon.
Okay, riders, random start. Riders, ready? Watch the gate. Riders, ready? Watch the gate.
Hesperia BMX has a really great strider track, also known as a balance bike track. One of the few tracks that actually has a starting gate for the striders. Now this footage right here is a little kid heading around the track on a practice day. It happened to be a very quiet sort of day, and he was the only one here. He had the track all to himself. But for those of you who are not really familiar with BMX, maybe you're kind of new to it, these balance bikes, as they're called, are kind of the latest, newest thing. They've really only been around for probably about 10 years or so, but it's a really great way to allow very young children to learn how to ride a bicycle. We have kids as young as 2, 3 years old riding these little balance bikes, and they don't have pedals on them, so the kid just pushes with their feet and learns how to balance. And the strider tracks actually get a really great turnout at Hesperia. And here is an example of an actual race night on the balance bike track.
Ready? Watch the gate. Let's go.
Go, Carson, go! Fast as you can go, bud! Keep going, buddy, keep going!
Let's get it coming back down the last straightaway, coming over. Tabletop, who's it going to be? Looks like Reed's in that one spot. Oh, looks like Reed's going down. Make sure he's all right. Well, my Princeton.
Go, big Carson! Come on, go! Go, bud, go! Good job, baby!
Liam, get back up. Liam, get back up.
Speaking of races, I forgot to tell you that the moto board where all the races are posted is right here along the fence to the immediate right of the sign-up booth.
Okay, riders, random start. Riders, ready? Watch the gate.
While we're on the subject of races, here's one of mine. This is a points race, which I, of course, got third. Again, I never do well in any. I've never gotten a first place finish, but look, in my defense, you got to remember, like, I'm racing right now an expert and an intermediate, and I'm only a novice. And I have about 1 year of experience, and a lot of these guys have way more than I do. It's just difficult to be almost 50 years old and race people who are truly your peers. I'm always racing these like 16-year-old experts or, 50-year-old pros. It's crazy. but it's a heck of a lot of fun. Let's take a walking tour of the entire track. So starting at the start hill, we got some flat bottom that then leads into a step up, which is a really mellow kind of step up. It's very gradual. And even the back end of the step up right here it's not really flat bottom. It's just a very gradual angle out of the step up. Then we get into a sort of double step up. This is a triple kind of jump where each jump gets progressively higher, leading into the first turn. And you can actually do a little jump off of that final step up on the triple there and land into this transition into the turn, which is kind of fun. And this first turn is extremely wide. It starts to really compress down and get narrow as you come to this double that is right immediately out of the first turn. And this is a double. I call these drop deck tabletops because it reminds me of a drop deck skateboard, right? Where it's technically a double, but it's sort of a tabletop because it doesn't drop down really low. And then once you come out of that, you come into this triple, and this triple jump has, technically, you could call the triple a step up, step down, because the center jump is actually higher than the other two. Then as you come out of the triple, right there, where that kid just went over, that's another little double that leads into the second turn. Now the second turn comes into the rhythm section. And this rhythm section is one that I really like a lot. It's spaced apart really well, so it's incredibly easy to find your rhythm and to really start to pick up some speed through this rhythm section. And a lot of people will treat this rhythm section, if they're really good, if we're talking about, expert riders, they'll treat this whole rhythm section like a bunch of rollers, and they'll just do a bunch of double jumps throughout the whole thing. So that's a lot of fun, and it's, as I've said before, this is a great beginner's track, and this rhythm section is a really great rhythm section to learn how to ride a rhythm section on. So then we come out of the third turn, which leads into another double. Like I said, it's kind of a drop deck tabletop because it's almost a tabletop. It's the middle between those doubles is not very low. Then we come into a genuine tabletop. This one right here is that's truly flat across the top. And then the final jump of the track is another little double right here. And right after that is the finish line. So there you go. There's a little walking tour of the entire track, so you can kind of get a much more mellow, kind of slow idea of what each element of the track looks like and how everything ties together throughout the beginning all the way to the end. Now, to get an idea of some of the history of Hesperia BMX, we can take a look back in time at what the track looked like in the past. So this right here is pretty much what it looks like today in 2020. And this is also imagery going back to 2018. So you can see we got the Strider track down here, and we have the starting hill, the main track right here. This is kind of an observation area that's fenced in, and we have a couple of benches right here that are right behind the second turn. Okay. So if we go back in time a little bit, if we go back to, let's say 2017, it looked pretty much the same. If we go back to a little earlier in 2017, you can see that those benches weren't there, and that's something that's been added since. If we go back a little earlier, we can see that there was no fence in this section right here. But the track itself, it really hasn't changed a whole lot in terms of the layout. Now, if we go back really far, the track layout does change quite a bit. But back here in 2015, still pretty much the same. Now, back in these years, I've believe this is when the track was not being used. You can see it's kind of flattened out, and it doesn't look like there's really much going on. If we come back to this point, well, 2009, the track definitely was gone, and this right here was a remote control race car track, so it was like that temporarily. And then some of these images, they start to get pretty bad in terms of the image quality, but you can see here, back in 2006, the track was dramatically different. It came down, had this first turn, circled around this way, then it looks like it actually had a little tunnel that went underneath the track, circled back around this way, and here's the little bridge that went over it. I could be totally wrong. Maybe that wasn't a bridge, it was just a jump. It's kind of hard to tell, really. 2003, again, the picture quality unfortunately isn't very good from these older satellite images, but you still get an idea of what it sort of looked like. And then 1994, yeah, again, it looks like it was just flattened out and there was nothing there. So that's all the further back I can go. I can't show you the satellite photos from the 80s because there aren't any, but this is what it looks like today. Let's take a look at how long Hesperia BMX track actually is. So we'll actually trace a path down the entire track from the very beginning of the start hill and the start gate, down here through the second turn, through the rhythm section, then we will come through the final turn to the finish line is exactly 894 feet, which of course will vary a little bit depending upon the path that you take, but give or take, it is around 894 feet. As we start to wrap things up on this video, here is all of the contact information for Hesperia BMX, so you know exactly where it's at, you know when they're open, and you know where you can look for more information. And don't forget that this kind of information is constantly changing, so be sure to check, make sure that all of this is still accurate, and that the track is actually open on the nights that you expect it to be. And remember, there are always special events happening in BMX, so you never know, there could be a huge race coming up this weekend, and be sure to check and find out. Maybe your first race will be a state qualifier. Hesperia is the second track I ever rode. And at this track, I've been blessed to meet some of the kindest children and friendliest parents I have known. People in the BMX community often speak of the BMX family, and I have learned how true that phrase is. On one hand, BMX is about the excitement of racing, about the thrill of overcoming your limitations, improving as a rider, and thereby gaining the confidence to excel at other things in life. But this sport isn't just about those things. The sport is more than racing bicycles and riding tracks. It's also about the great people and good times.
Well, you can't help it. I'm sorry. No, you can't help it.
What do you do? I missed it.
I know you have to have it. Okay.
I want to race, but I'm not going to.
Well, thank you so much for watching this episode of Learn BMX Racing. Now you know a little bit about Hesperia, a little bit about the history of Hesperia, you know how to get here, you know all kinds of stuff. So I hope that you come on out yourself and check out the track and enjoy some racing, whether you're a little kid on a Strider bike or an older kid who's going to be up here on the big track. You should have a really good time. And if you're local, this could be your local track. If you're not local, make sure that you swing by and visit when you are out here. And no matter what your situation is, it's going to be great to be here because the memories you make are going to last the rest of your life, because your good old days are happening right now.